Hey guys, what's up? Happy election day. We're not going to be talking about elections today. Hopefully, if you want a little break from the results, you can join us here at the live. We're going to talk about on the George Mossey show, The Other Way, and To Mama's Boy. So we have one more episode until the finale of 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way, and then we're going to hop into the tell all. So we're gonna be wrapping up. I think Statler's story wrapped up yesterday, so she's not gonna be back on the show. And we know that Statler's not gonna be on the tell all. So there's a possibility that we'll get like a video from Dempsey explaining, her side of the story, but Statler will not be at the tell all. So if you were hoping to get some closure from that, we're not going to get any. What's up, Gina? We're just waiting on Cara to get here. So hopefully you guys want a little distraction from this election because it's kind of been consuming me all day long. It's been going on and there's just a lot with it. So we're going to do some lighthearted 90 Day Fiance talk on this election day, hopefully. I'm not exactly sure where Cara's at. Let me text her. What's up, Jaden? What's up, Pineapple? All right, I text Cara. Yeah, so as soon as she gets here, we're going to get started. We just want to go over a little bit from what we got yesterday. If you didn't vote, guys, I hope you voted because, hey, I'm at the gym. Hey, Gina. Yeah, I understand. This is not our normal day, so I know a lot of people might not be able to join us today. I totally get that. So, but yeah, hopefully everybody voted because no matter what happens, guys, our choice is still important. What we do and how we vote is important, regardless of the outcome. Exercise your right to vote. Exercise your. Wait, Jaden, are you in Canada? I think you're in Canada, right? So I think, yeah, that would be the reason you wouldn't be voting, right? I mean, I get it. Some people don't want to, but Cara says that she's trying to join. It doesn't. It says that it doesn't show that I'm live to Cara. That's weird. Interesting. Yeah, Jaden, you're in Canada. You don't have to deal with our nonsense. Our being overcome by all the crazy election talk. So let's just do a little distractive conversation tonight to get us just out of that huge crazy election bubble at this point. Hey,
there you are.
I
wouldn't even show me you.
I don't even know what happened. That's so weird. It's the election. I think everybody is just so consumed. So I thought this would be fun. We could go back and we can do some 90 Day Fiance talk, distract everyone from the election. Because, we're going to be up very late tonight, right? Trying to understand, where the nation is going. So it'll be fun just to talk about some reality TV for a little bit, just to distract ourselves from that. So I was talking about there's one more episode in The Other Way. The finale is next week. Yep. And then we're going into the tell-all. And then right after that, we're going straight into The Last Resort. Canadians don't have to deal with the U.S. elections. See, I feel like y'all don't, but you probably have still heard a lot about it, right? Because it's all over social media. Just because you're not here, you can't escape it. I know that you still know exactly what we're dealing with and what we're going through. So even not being from here, people are still subjected to that. But okay, so let's get into this. Statler and Dempsey. So we know the outcome of that because Statler went online and she told every single person online what happened in their relationship, and because we know it's going to end. So she gave her a, what do you call it? A 2-month ultimatum where if they weren't happy in 2 months, they were going to go their separate ways and sell the van and separate. And a lot of people online were like, why don't y'all just break up now? You're not happy now. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
If you're unhappy,
absolutely,
and you don't get along, you don't see eye to eye, why would you continue to leave yourself in that situation? And I kind of agree. If they can't see eye to eye, because let's be real, since they've moved in to get together in the van, they haven't agreed on anything. Statler,
and you can't say in 2 months if you're not happy. First of all, in 2 months if you're not happy, but I have to work an entire one of those months.
Well, right.
No days off.
I think that Statler's never gonna find happiness in this van life because it was never her dream.
Yes.
I think that she's living inside of Dempsey's dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like for instance, your life and my life are very different. So if I was to go and try to live inside your world,
Right.
I probably wouldn't find happiness in it because you like the country, it snows there, you're dealing with the cold. A lot of things that I don't like is a part of your life that you love. So you can't just really insert yourself into other people's dreams and expect to eventually find happiness. I think Statler put herself in somebody. Oh, what happened?
The diva says we're frozen.
Oh, is it doing the same thing before? Gina, can you see and hear us? Yeah, you're right. It says Georgian car, my pick is frozen and there's no sound. Gina, can you tell me if you can hear us? Oh, she's back. She's back. Okay, good. Yeah, but I think that Statler put herself into someone else's dream, but she keeps saying that. She's like, this is my fault because in relationships, I just want someone to love me. So I just do whatever they say or ask. And, you know, and this is how she keeps ending up in these situations. And I feel for her because I don't know what it's like to be adopted, you know, and I don't know what the situation is mentally and emotionally, but she just wants someone to love her. And that's something that we all want.
Okay, but I can't help but go back to their first season where she just goes to Dempsey's little trailer and she immediately says, I'm not going to be happy here. It's too small. But by the end of that season, she's like, I'm ready to move in. Let's just get married.
But
I'll give up
everything. That's the, what did she call it? That's like the lesbian, she called it like the lesbian relationship.
It's like a lesbian U-Haul or something like that.
Yes, she explained it. She was like, yeah, we find out that we like each other and we see that there's a connection and then we just move really, really, really fast.
Right. So
and I think that's
what makes it different now?
I don't know. I don't, I think that they were physically attracted to each other, but I don't think there was any other connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, being physically attracted to someone doesn't mean that you can live in a tiny space with them. It means that you think they're physically attractive.
I think,
and I think
because
when you watch them interact, I question all the time, how did they end up together? What do they...
I think it's jealousy. So when Statler went the first time, Dempsey was having to go out and do her work, but she was able to take time off and be with Statler. Statler wasn't working. She was just there enjoying everything. And she said it more than once. I have to work all the time and you get to see all this pretty stuff and you get to enjoy the freedom. I think Statler is jealous of Dempsey.
I don't disagree because Dempsey made a comment because she was like, Statler was like, I want us to feel like we're equal. And Dempsey's like, well, you don't feel like we're equal because I don't have a job.
Yeah,
and exactly. I think that it's true. I think that Statler looks at it as she's out living her best life and I'm out working 10 hours a day in this tiny space. And I can understand the frustration, but, you know, when it comes to getting what you pay for, she knew what she was signing up for. So when they discussed it, Dempsey said, I'm going to sell everything that I own and I'm going to use this time to live my life and enjoy and be a nomad. And Statler was like, well, I don't have anything to sell. I wouldn't have the money to live my life for months and months and not work. So I have to keep working. So you knew what you were getting, you got what you paid for, and now you want a refund. You know, and exactly. I think that's kind of where we are. She knew that she was going to have to work. You know, and I would never agree, like, let's be real. I would never agree to do what she's doing because she is picking up a lot more slack than Dempsey. And I would be envious of the other person who gets to see the world. I love to travel. I love to eat new foods and try new things. So the idea that somebody else gets to do it while I watch them do it but can't participate would drive me crazy. That's like saying someone's going to Disney World and I get to accompany them, but I have to stay in the car. Yeah, like, I would never do it. It's just something that I would never sign up for. But she did. She signed up for it, and now she's trying to make it seem like Dempsey is the reason why she's unhappy. But she knew what she was getting into.
Well, she also said she wanted Dempsey to be the van wife. And now every time it comes to Statler working or there's conversation about Statler working, she's got to find something for Dempsey to do. So she's like, maybe if I make her work, then she'll have to stay here. So she's already sent her out for the charger and this and that and got to make everything perfect. She's out of shit for Dempsey to do. So now she's like, Dempsey already said she cooks, she cleans and stuff. So she's like, okay, now you need to fix the table. What's that? like a 10-minute job?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. She's basically like delegating things out to her so she can make it seem like they're equal. And
Yes.
I think that that's the reason that's never going to work, because she doesn't feel that they're equal. She feels like she's getting a raw end of the deal, even though in actuality she's getting the deal she signed up for. That's not how she feels. So
Yeah.
she's never going to find like peace in what she's doing and how she's living, because it doesn't seem fair. And again, from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem fair, but I would never have agreed to it.
Yeah.
So it's like you
too.
agree to it, you sign on the dotted line, you're an adult, right? You're not a child. You don't get takebacks. You did what you did. You didn't put a lot of thought and intelligence into your decision, and now you're sucking the life out of yourself, basically,
Yeah.
by being in this situation and it's funny because everyone saw the hesitation in Statler, even on last season. Statler never wanted to do this. And it's funny because I'm the type of person, you could never convince me to do something I don't want to do. Do you know how many times people have invited me to go on cruises with them? Like, they would pay for it, it would be free, we would get it comped. It doesn't matter. I'm terrified of the ocean. So there's no way that you could explain it to me or sell it to me that I would accept doing it. So I wouldn't be in that situation. I feel like Statler wanted Dempsey to love her so bad that Dempsey could have told her, you know, let's go live in Antarctica. And Dempsey would have said, okay. Because she's desperately looking for someone to love her. And I think the funny, ironic part about it is she's the reason why people can't love her, because she's got a lot of issues deep down that she has to work on. Because I don't think Dempsey is literally using her. I don't believe that.
I don't either.
I think that they discussed it, they agreed on it, and then Statler got here and was like, well, this doesn't seem fair to me. So now I'm mad. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's too late. Dempsey sold literally everything she owns. It's too late to go back.
Yeah.
Right? She doesn't have anywhere to go.
I agree. I mean, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, essentially. And she's kind of to the point.
Sell the van, right? Or sell the van and part ways. Don't say let's live another miserable 2 months and see how. No, that's not a mature answer. It's not like, oh well, we hate each other now, but maybe we won't hate each other next month. No, you're going to hate each other more.
Yeah.
It only gets worse when you're in a situation that you hate. It's only going to get worse. So I want to talk about. Oh, and this was Statler's last appearance on the show. She put out on Instagram that her story is now over. They won't be on the finale. So I'm fingers crossed, hoping that we're going to get Dempsey on the screen. Yeah. Just to give us like an update. Because, you know, the rumor is that Dempsey is out dating another woman. So I want to know like what's going on with that. How's her relationship going? And some people are saying that she sold the van and bought another van or something. So I want to get like the update on that, because, you know, Statler's just been talking. I really want to hear Dempsey's side of the story, because, you know, there's always three sides. There's her side, and the truth. So I don't want to listen to what Statler has to say and just say, oh, this is truth. I want to know what's going on with Dempsey too, because again, I don't think Dempsey is the evil human being that she's being painted out to be. I don't believe that. I think that they both have faults.
I'm just putting it out there. I hope we see Dempsey on The Single Life.
Well, if she's dating already, I don't know, right?
Yeah, but I'm hoping that we see her on The Single Life meeting this person.
Oh yeah, I would totally. I would be totally fine with that. I would love to see more of her. I always liked her. I liked Statler at first, like at first, but then I got to know her, and then I was just like, I can do without. Also, James and Tata, after the wedding ceremony, Natalia thought that James was going to change his mind about living in Indonesia, but in actuality, James has money on his mind, and he knows that in order to make the money that they need to survive, he has to go back home, and basically beg his family to get back in the family business, which he's quit on them twice. So I personally, I wouldn't let him back in, because he keeps saying screw you to his family. This is because he did it the first time when he moved to Florida, and now he's doing it again. And another thing that is catching me really interesting is Natalia says she hated living in the United States because she was always alone. Okay, so back up. They've been together for 5 years. She lived in the US for 5 years. She hasn't met any friends or anyone close in 5 years. Isn't that weird, Cara?
That is weird. That's very weird. Also, if you told me we had to go back home, even though I didn't really want to, I'd miss the shit out of my dog. I need to get back to my dog.
They haven't even brought the dog back up. I think
No.
JoJo is the dog's name, JoJo. They haven't even brought JoJo back up. Like, it's like they got over there and they got, like, sidetracked on everything. And I get it. She wants to say they're her family, which is weird, though. Angel does not even live within driving distance of them. She's in, I think, Bali.
Yeah.
She's not even close. And she's like, well, I want to be close to my sister. And I'm like, well, you're not. Even in Indonesia, you're not. And then she has this ultimatum where she's like, well, if we do, so she's making deals now. She's like, if we do go back to the United States, you have to sponsor Angel. So a lot of people said that this is a huge red flag, because now that she's asking him to sponsor someone, like bring another person over. And, you know, when you sponsor them, you're fully responsible for them. Like, she's not gonna apply for a tourist visa and just come visit. She wants James to sponsor her fully. So what was your initial reaction to that? Because everybody said that was a huge red flag.
I have so many reactions to this. Okay, first of all, let's talk about their house. Remember when they left their house and I was like, so they didn't even clean it or leave it like a move out, like right. An actual move out. So that tells me that house is family owned and is probably still sitting there waiting for them.
Yeah.
Their friends just randomly have their dog, and she had to leave the country, not because she was lonely, but because she was so sick and no American doctors can treat hyperthyroidism, I guess. So she goes and finds out that she has hyperthyroidism, which is so easily treatable in the US. Now he's making like they don't have a place to live, and he's going to have to find work, which he probably does have to find work after bailing on his job with no notice to his family. But I'm thinking that they still have the same house. They still have the same dog. And that's family. He can probably kiss a little ass, get his job back. But they don't have money there, and they've blown through their savings. They're planning on coming here and him just going back to work to try to make money. So if they come back here, and let's say they don't get in that house, you got to have your first month's rent, your deposit, your security deposit, your cleaning deposit, all that. You can't just come back and move into a house and pay later, number one. Number two, you got nothing to sponsor this girl on. You can't sponsor somebody without a home, without a job, without any of it. Like, none of it makes sense.
That's true. That's true, because we learned with Tiffany, because I remember Tiffany Franco, she had to have her dad be a co-sponsor because her salary wasn't high enough. And I think we learned with Rebecca and Zaya, it has to be $50,000 a year. I think that's what we learned. Because Rebecca had a really good job in a profession. She had to leave and go to manage a fast food restaurant because it met the $50,000 requirement. And Rebecca has a good education. She didn't have to do that. But in order to...
Ari and Benny's parents, Ari's parents had to sponsor Benny.
Right. And they're both, I think her dad's a doctor, her mom's a practitioner. So yeah, they had to sponsor. So the idea, and even if he came back and got his same job fixing elevators with his family, does it pay $50,000? Or
even if it does, again, they've been gone for how long? And they're in Indonesia. So you have to be able, you just go and say, oh, I don't have any income for the last year, like, but it's okay, I'll make money. And the government's gonna go, yeah, you're probably right, you'll probably make some money, okay, we'll do it. You gotta have something.
I just think it's a weird, because also the idea that she had blocked Angel on social media. She hadn't talked to her for years, and now they've been talking for a couple of weeks, and now she is the main deciding factor. If she's going to go back to the US, she has to come with. And I'm just thinking, I don't know, this whole thing seems really fishy to me.
It does.
I don't think that Tata's like a scam artist or anything, but the whole thing just seems fishy, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, because when I was thinking back, I was like, you've been in the US for 5 years, and because she does have one friend, I don't remember the girl's name, but James confided in her about not wanting to have kids. So she did have one friend. Like, 5 years is a long time to not have made, a circle, a group,
absolutely,
of people that you can count on. It's easier with women. Women can spark up a conversation with each other and build friendships. With men, it's a little different. Men are a little standoffish and they don't like to talk to strangers as much in public. But when women, especially like if you work together or you go to the same gym or you keep seeing the same people, women are more prone to be friendly towards each other and start a conversation. So it's just weird to me that she spent so much time here. And she's like, I was just alone. I had no one to talk to. I was just sitting in the house. It was just me. I was like, that's crazy, because in 5 years, you know, even if you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to see the same people, right?
Right.
And
But also his brother's married. Like, she had a sister-in-law. She had it. I mean, she could have put forth the effort to become with these people.
so that makes me wonder, do you think she didn't get along with James's family? Do you think
I kind of feel
maybe,
like that.
maybe she alienated them? Because it didn't seem like James's family had a problem with her from what we saw. It didn't seem.
They probably didn't have a problem with her until he's like, okay, I'm moving to Indonesia because, you know, she's got hyperthyroidism and I'm going to sell banana chips. And then they're like, what the hell?
Well, I said this before, like when they moved to Indonesia, they didn't have a plan. You know, I'm a planning person, right? Like when I want to do something, I need to have a plan. I'm not a wing it person. Like I don't go on, you know, I have friends, they'll go on vacation or they'll go on a trip and they'll just drive somewhere. They don't have like a hotel book. They're like, oh, we'll find something when we get there. I'm not that type of person because I'm not sleeping.
Me too.
In the car, right? Like you could sleep in the car if you didn't plan ahead. So the idea that she just took off, went on a plane and left, because remember, she left before he did. And she had no plan. But I think her having no plan is more her style. That's just how she is. But James is more, you know, we need to have a plan. We need to have things. And the way that they left the U.S., like you said, it was so abrupt. They didn't pay off any bills. They didn't make any plans. Like, it was just, I get that they're young, but their decisions are just insane to me. Like, I would never in a million years just pack up and leave and move to a country. The first thing that I would have to know moving anywhere is where I would work. And I get that the word that they didn't even know where they're going to live. Remember, they're like, well, we can try to convince my parents to let us stay with them. They didn't even know if that was going to go well. It did, but what if it didn't? Like, what if you got there and the parents were like, well, no, we don't have room for you. We don't want you to stay here. You know, like, then what?
You're right. She didn't have a plan. If you remember back in the beginning, she's like, okay, I want to move home, blah, blah, blah. So she goes home knowing she can go to her parents' castle and she can sell banana chips and make banana chips and have a room there and everything's good. But she sprung it on the parents. James is coming. Oh, yeah. And we're not going back to the States. So she didn't pre-plan and say, hey, mom and dad, can I come home? Like, also, can I bring my husband? I will leave my dog behind because that's a whole responsibility I can't handle.
Right.
But if I could just come home and live there, and then once I get there, you can pay off my car because we're coming without any money or any job or any plan. She didn't do that. She just got there and she's like, hey, also, I'm not leaving. Also, James is coming. Also, we need to work for you. Also, we have no money. Like, but everything was just dumped on her.
I think that's her MO.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that, right. I think you're right. I think that she's taken advantage of her parents where she just unloads her problems and they save her. Because that's kind of what I noticed, because she was just like, oh, well, we need you to pay for this car and we need you to do this. And then she just started crying and then she kissed her mom's feet and everything was good. And then she was fine. Yeah. She just was ready to move in and she could care less. But everything was, and I think that's her MO. I think that she's always been bailed out. And I think when you have parents that bail their children out of situations, you end up with Natalia. And someone with no accountability, no responsibility, no care or worry in the world about money or issues. It's just whatever she wants is what she wants. And it's like when you make decisions, like they're talking about having kids, which also, I don't think either one of them want to have kids. I think that they want to have kids because her parents want them to.
Right. And you can't tell me that's not something you haven't discussed after being married for 5 years and living in America for 5 years.
Well,
and then you can't tell me that wasn't discussed ahead of time.
If they wanted kids, I think that they would already have them.
100%.
I watch their social media. They have like this one Instagram with just about their travels and the different places. I don't see how children fit into their lifestyle. Because I envy their lifestyle. They've been everywhere. They travel, they see the world, they have photography pages. I don't see how they could do what they do now with children And I think that's why they've been together for 5 years and don't have children. And again,
they can't do what they do now and have a dog. Let's be real.
Right. I
A
think
dog's a
that
big responsibility. If I leave town, my dog is going with me. If I left the country, my dog is absolutely going with me. Is it a ton of paperwork ahead of time?
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm also smart enough to do that shit before I leave.
well, yes, because you would plan ahead.
Yeah.
They don't plan ahead, and that's how their dog is not with them. They
Yeah.
just assume they literally just go buy a plane ticket and hope it works out.
Yeah.
Like, I am not that type of person. I have to plan ahead. And so, okay, we're gonna find out if they're, I don't know where they are, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anything online. If they're in the US, in Indonesia, they're very good at not showing.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. So we're gonna find out, I guess, next week, and then we're gonna go into the finale. But I want to get into this Sarper and Shekinah story, where Sarper is selling to us that he does not want to move to the US, which couldn't be even more, hey Jal, even bigger BS. Like, I know for a fact his life goal is to move to the US. That's just a given. So he's like, oh, I have to tell her that I don't really want to move to the US. And then he's going to propose to her. And the only reason why he's proposing to her is because she's already applied for the K-1 visa, which means he's coming to the US. So I'm kind of over the BS storyline between the two of them. Oh, what did you think of Shekinah's new nose? I thought that the nostrils were too small.
Yes, I agree. It looks like she can't breathe. But I'm more blown away that there is another human being out there that would actually marry Sarper. And why are we just now finding out that he was married?
Okay, you're right. So I want to have a conversation with this woman. So the fact that Shekinah went and spoke to just an ex-girlfriend and not his ex-wife blows my mind, because I was like, who cares what happened with this girl who he dated for a few months? You need to speak to the ex-wife. What happened in that relationship? Because this is what you're working towards, marriage. She already did that with him. You need to figure out what the hell happened, because the fact that he just brought up, and another thing that really bothers me about Sarper. So I was watching last night, and every time he describes a past woman from a past relationship, he always makes it a focus to say, I felt nothing. I didn't love her. I felt nothing. And I was like, and he was saying this about the woman that he married. And I was like, so how do you explain?
I love her.
Right.
I was like, bullshit.
How do you explain every relationship you've ever been in, you felt nothing? Because honestly, I don't think I've ever been in a relationship where I felt nothing, because that means there's no relationship. So I'm beginning to wonder what's going on in his head.
Even with friendships, you feel something. I love you. You're my friend. I'll say it. I say it out loud. If I meet a stranger at the grocery store, I feel nothing.
Right.
I cannot imagine marrying someone, having their last name, living in the same house, and you never said you love me. Like, that's bullshit. That is a bullshit thing to say.
But he says it about every time there's another woman other than Shekinah, he's like, I felt nothing. I didn't love him. I felt nothing. And I was like, I feel like that's a defense mechanism.
It's cheater mentality.
Okay, that's what it is. Because I'm like, what is it? Why would you say that? Because there's no way I would marry someone that I felt nothing for. I wouldn't even really date a person that I felt nothing for. There's no point.
It's cheater justification. I cheated, but I felt nothing. It was a mistake.
Oh. So he's trying to say, since there was no emotion involved, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
Oh, okay. He's such a liar, though. He's such a liar.
Pile of shit.
The idea that, like you said, two women on this planet goal was to marry him, it's scary. And it's very scary. And and I don't know what Shekinah sees in him. So he did another one of his famous 5-second strip dances on this episode. And this one was even more weird because he started like growling and barking. So my question, Cara, he says that he used to be paid by women for entertainment purposes. Would you pay to see whatever the hell we were just watching last night?
Not a chance in hell. You would have to pay me to go, but you'd have to pay me to go only if I could wear a blindfold or bleach my eyeballs.
I was scared, Cara. I was scared.
He's so gross. This man, repulses me. Like I've heard women say he's cute, at least he's good looking, things like that. This man is not even a little cute. He is not a little good looking. He is so full of shit and so made up that every ounce of him is just screaming ick.
I think what's also really disturbing is when, because actually people say this about Sean, with Sean and Joanne, and also can't remember who else, but they say, oh well, at least they're good looking. And I was like, so is being good looking a justification for being a liar and a cheater and a dickhead and an ass?
No,
because I'm beginning to wonder.
It all goes back to that initial attraction. So you have the initial attraction, which makes you talk and get to know someone.
Right.
But when you get to know someone and their insides are ugly, you immediately lose the attraction.
Yeah.
So nothing about this guy is even like, I don't care what anybody says. His personality makes him so ugly.
I don't understand what Shekinah sees in him, but also it's Shekinah, so why would I understand, right?
Had goldfish that had more personality than him.
There was a thing on X where people were saying who's more shallow, Tiger Lily or Shekinah, and I was stumped. I was like, I'm not 100% sure that I can answer that accurate. It's like a 50-50 tie, right?
I think that Tiger Lily pretends to be dumb for attention. She thinks it's cute. I think Shekinah's actually dumb.
Oh, so this isn't an act. This is who she is. This is her. I mean, I can see that because Tiger Lily, I mean, she hasn't really given me any reason to think she's a genius. But I just think that it's impossible for you to...
I don't think she's a genius, but I think she makes genius. She moves strategically. She married a wealthy man. She had, she got where she wanted to be so that she could alter her appearance so that she could be vain.
Yeah.
I mean, she's strategic. I won't say she's a genius, but she's a critical thinker. Where Shekinah, I don't think Shekinah thinks.
No, I agree with you. I'm actually I'm on board. I don't think that she has a strategy. I think that she's just with Sarper because she thinks he's the best man in the world.
Yeah.
And there's no justification for that thought process. I don't know where it came from, but that's just where she is. Okay, yeah. So next week we're gonna catch up with Lily and Josh and actually see if they cancel the wedding because it's an hour and a half out from when people would arrive and they don't have any money. So we're gonna see if they actually get married or not. And then there's a rumor going around that he's back here. So I'm gonna say maybe they didn't get married. I mean, it doesn't matter because they got married here.
Yeah.
Back here when she was here. So they would still have to get divorced here because they literally got married on U.S. soil. The China wedding is less of importance, more of significance. So I'm leaning towards it probably didn't happen because Josh probably doesn't have $4,900.
Right.
But
he's also legally married, like you said.
Well, yeah, it's over there. It doesn't make a difference. Right. They can still apply for whatever visa they want, or if he wants to stay there. Because, well, wait. Question: what if he doesn't marry her in China, but he married her in the U.S.? Can he stay there? Because that's a reverse.
I don't know. I don't know if
maybe it is important because if Lily was coming here, they would have had to have gotten married here to get the K1. But since he wanted to go there, maybe he does need to marry her on their soil in order to apply for that visa. I didn't think about that.
I don't know about that, but all I know is since they're legally married here, if they split up and she stays there and he comes here, if she doesn't, if he sends her the divorce papers and stuff and she doesn't sign them, he's screwed. He can never remarry.
Yeah.
Like, he's married legally.
Yeah, they got married here.
Yeah.
And she was already here. Yeah, so they have to figure that out. And we're going to see, they'll both be he'll be at the tell-all, so we'll at least hear about that. I'm kind of excited about the tell-all because there is a lot of stuff that is up in the air.
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting for the season to start and then it just ended.
Yeah.
So not a lot really happened. So we're going to have to get get an explanation on the finale next week, and then the tell-all. And it seems like there's only 2 tell-alls because we got next week's episode and then 2 tell-alls, and then December 2nd, we're right into the last resort. So there's only 2 parts. So we're back to normal tell-alls instead of 5, 6, 7 parts like we've been doing.
God.
We're back to normal 2-part tell-alls, which we can close the chapter and move on like normal people again.
But
so I feel like we weren't,
because this season was so full of nothing.
Well, yeah, I think that there's not really I don't want to say a reason for a tell-all. You know how at the end of like Love After Lockup, they'll put on the screen what happened? We could probably do one of those.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't need a 2-hour tell-all for us to tell us what happened. We could just put at the bottom of the screen at the end of the season, they're not together anymore.
Yeah.
They didn't get married. Like it literally could be that easy because we already know what happened with Sarper and Shekinah. He's here.
And we know
we already know.
What happened with Statler and Dempsey.
Right. So it's not necessary. It's mostly like customary now that we're getting the tell-all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about a little bit of Mama's Boy. We got Shirlene and Austin. So I want to talk about this. Shirlene moving to LA and she's trying to move her son in with her. And okay, so the little fight that they had. So Shirlene went to her son's apartment and she went into Chris's room. Chris, who is not her son. And she's like telling him how to clean his room. And I think my biggest issue was Austin sat there, and this is the same thing Josh does too, and watched them fight and didn't do anything. And because he's like, oh, well, if he can't fix this with my mom, it'll never work out. I was like, well, you have to set boundaries with your mom. If your mom comes to an apartment that he pays half of the bills for and is disrespectful, he asked her not to give her dog a treat. No, to give his dog a treat. She tried to do it anyway. Like, you have to set boundaries. It's not his responsibility. And I think that was my main issue, was Austin was like, well, it's Chris's responsibility to fix the boundary issues with my mom. And I'm like, but it's not. It's your responsibility. Yep. You want to be in a relationship with him. You want to live with him. You have to tell your mom, hey, don't come into our home and be disrespectful to this person. And it's like, Josh does the same thing. He lets his mom disrespect his wife, and actually both of the wives. Josh and what's the other wife's name? I think Lori.
Lori, yeah.
And
yeah. Oh no,
it's Tracy. Is it Tracy?
Yeah.
Tracy. And he doesn't speak up. He just watches them, and I think that makes my blood boil a little bit, because I feel like if you really love someone, you would want them to be respected, and it really makes me wonder, especially with Josh and Janelle, if he really loves her, because we saw him go behind Janelle's back, and he had it's a weekly thing, his Friday night date with his mom in Tampa, and he was like, I'm gonna figure out a way to make this work. And I guess what bothers me is he's doing everything behind his wife's back.
Yes.
And it's underhanded, and it's like, I don't know. And he referred to his mom as my number one. You'll always be my number one. There's no one would ever take your place. And I was like, see, I don't know how I feel about that, because when you get married and you have kids, the order does change.
Yes.
Because the mother of your children has to become number one, because your children are number one.
Absolutely.
So, and I don't know if he really respects his wife and her feelings and her wants and needs. And I don't know if that's healthy. And I think the mom should be the first one to say, like, hey, I get that you love me. I get that I'm your number one, but you should care what your wife feels. Because let's be real. If Janelle gets pissed off enough, she could file for divorce and file for full custody and leave his ass. And then he would have to fight to see his kids. Yep. So he really should show her some respect.
This mom makes me absolutely batshit crazy. Like, just listening to her talk, she's so condescending to Janelle. She doesn't care. She's just, I just can't. I mean, I try to picture the whole situation with my in-laws, and my mother-in-law was tried to always be very controlling in the beginning. And my husband had to straight put some boundaries.
Right.
And it took a minute for her to get it, but he did. But she always tried to be controlling over my kids, controlling over herself, controlling over her sons. Now, I mean, we're 30 years in, so she's backed up. But
it wasn't your responsibility.
Yes.
to set her straight. And I think that's where Josh loses me, because I was like, well, if you want your wife to love you and stay with you, and you know, I think you do. You have kids. You bought a house with her. You know, y'all are pretty much in it. You know,
Yep.
I was like, you have to set boundaries, and it's like he doesn't have to tell his mom, you know, you can't be in our life. You can't be there, but you have to say, look, when you're speaking to my wife, be respectful. Don't be condescending. Don't say that she's an issue. And then after they had this fight, she had the audacity to go into Janelle's closet and start wearing stuff.
I know. And then when Janelle says something, she says, why do you always have to bring it up? Stay out of my shit.
It's so disrespectful to talk to somebody so rudely and then go and wear their stuff. It's almost like a slap in the face. It's like, you are so, and the fact that her husband won't do anything, I think that's why Tina is like, I can talk to her however I want. I can use her stuff. No matter what, my son will pick me over her. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because what woman wants to be in a marriage with a man who's always going to pick someone else?
Nope.
You know, like, and then she's all the way across the world, right? She's across the country in Massachusetts. Her family and life is in Tampa, and he promised her that he was going to move her back.
Yeah.
And now he's making promises to everybody, because now he's promising Tina, oh, well, we're going to, you see, they're going to convert the garage. Now in Florida, we don't have basements.
Yeah.
So your garage is basically your storage area. So now Janelle doesn't have any storage because he's going to convert the garage into a suite for the mom. And he never had a conversation with her.
Yeah.
I don't know how a marriage can last with no communication. Like, if you're moving, like, Cara, what if you came home one day and your husband had a contractor converting part of your house into another room for somebody, and y'all never had a conversation about it? That would be a big problem.
Would hope that he's having a contractor building him a new house.
Right?
It wouldn't be with me.
Right? He would need to build another home completely, because you just don't do that. You don't move people onto properties without having a conversation with your spouse. And I think that Tina should know this as a grown adult woman. She should know that her son shouldn't move this way. Because
we bit of hope for her a couple of episodes ago for a second when she was out with Ed and she called him a mama's boy, and she's like, oh, the light came on, blah blah blah, I realized what I did, and then literally nothing changed.
Nothing. No, I don't think that she's kind of one of those people who, how do you explain this, where somebody can, because I have people that I know, right, they're really religious and they do things, like, they do whatever they want. But if they see me doing something, they're like, oh, you shouldn't drink, or you shouldn't do this, they call me out for it. I feel like Tina's the type of person where she can do it, you can't do it.
Yes.
So, like, even though she saw that and she's like, oh yeah, I see what I did there. I see that I should have, you know, raised them a little more independently. But since it's her, it's okay. But since Ed was dealing with his mom, it wasn't okay. And she's kind of like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of people in my family that are like that. They're like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, well, this is the same thing you're doing. But I can't do it. They're like, well, no, you know better. I'm like, but so do you. You know, but that's literally how people are hypocrites. They do what they want to do and then call you out for what they're doing because it's wrong. And I think that Tina is never going to let her sons be independent.
I agree.
And until the sons decide to make that decision, Tina's never going to do it. Kind of like with Dia and with Shahid. He's never going to be independent. So Nyla decided, okay, so two things. Nyla's having a birthday party. And she invited Miss Dia, which I thought was nice and respectful. I probably wouldn't go because it's a cleavage party, so it's already going to be, right, it's going to be weird. So she invited the mom, but then she took Shahid to a jewelry store to go ring shopping, which she kind of sprang on him. And Shahid revealed to us that his mom, Dia, gave him a $25 budget for their day. And the idea that the ring she was looking at, well, he wasn't going to buy the $20,000 ring. He was looking at cubic zirconians. But even if he was to open a credit card in his name, he's like, well, I can't do that because my mom isn't here. And it really raised a red flag for me because I was like, not only is his relationship with his mom not healthy, it is actually a hindrance because he should be able to make decisions on his own as a 24-year-old man. They don't have to be right or wrong. It's just his decision. But the idea that he was like, well, I can't do anything unless my mom was here. I was like, wow, this is where the hindrance is getting out of control. Because say for instance, you're in a car accident and they need to ask you, where do we take you? And the person next to you needs this. You need to make decisions right now. Can they airlift you? You don't have time to call your mom, right? Like there's situations where you have to just be a man or a woman and make decisions and hope that they're right. And I think that she's hindered his thought process to the point where he doesn't want to make a decision without consulting her because he's already afraid that it's wrong.
Right.
And he's looking for that approval. And it's like at 24, you can make decisions on your own. They'll probably be wrong. When I was 24, I didn't make great decisions, but my mom didn't.
He needs to open like 10 credit cards so that all this mail goes to her, and he can be like either give me my money, or I'm going to destroy my credit and live with you forever.
That's what I was thinking too. Because and that's another thing that crossed my mind. I was like, well, maybe he's afraid because he thinks if he pisses Dia off, she might kick him out. Do you think it has something to do with that? That it's the control of this is where he lives, and he knows that he can't afford to live anywhere else. Do you think it has something to do with that?
He's got this poor kid so brainwashed. It makes me sick. Like of all the moms, they're all.
They're all bad, right?
I have a really hard time with all the moms. Typically, I would never, ever, ever knock someone's parenting. However,
same.
With her parenting is all cattywampus. Like, she's got the other son. The other son's fine. She's engaged herself to someone he doesn't like, but his opinion doesn't matter, while she's being hypocritical. Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
Right.
This kid is 24 years old. He's beyond the adult age. Like, he can serve our country. He can buy alcohol. He can vote for our president. But he can't sign up for a credit card without mom's approval. He can't take his girlfriend to lunch without mom's approval. Like, she has him so brainwashed. The kid had to celebrate a half birthday just to let her know, I need you to back up just a smidge. And she cried and packed his bags for the guilt trip.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that she has him, and it's almost fearful of ruining their relationship or doing something that she doesn't approve of. And, as an adult, when I turned 18, I was fearful of my mom because we were part of a cult. So I had to get a job and move out because I was fearful, because she was like, oh, you have to go to church. And then when I got a job, she's like, you have to give like half your money to the church. And I was like, well, I was scared if I didn't do it, this was where I lived, then I would be screwed. So I had to leave. But I think he's to the point where he doesn't think he can make it without her.
Yeah.
And that's worse, because there's no hope. He thinks that no matter what happens, he needs her in order to be successful. And I think that that's the brainwashing that destroys this, basically, because I was like, why has he failed to launch? Why has he failed to do anything? He's college educated. He doesn't seem like there's any illnesses or ailments that would keep him from working and making money and being successful. And I think his biggest disability is Dia. I think she's the reason why he is afraid of stepping out onto his own and being successful or doing anything. And she gives him $25 allowances for the day. I just can't. I
either. This mom actually just pisses me off. Like, absolutely pisses me off.
I think of all of them, she's the one that is the worst out of all the moms. I think she's the worst with the controlling. She's also a hypocrite too. Like, she does what she wants. She dates who she wants. She doesn't care what he thinks. She's a hypocrite too. But I think when it comes to, she's hindering him from being his best self. And I've never in a million years thought a mother would ever hinder her child from being the best that they could be. Every time every mother I've ever met, all they ever wanted was for their kids to be the best version of themselves. They literally would.
Every kid I grew up with got in trouble of some sort with the police at least once, or the principals, or whatever. It just happened. you know, and stupid things, being out past curfew, or, you know, just dumb things. Because where I live, it was a 10 o'clock curfew for anyone under 18.
Oh,
You know, and kids would get in trouble all the time. I never got in trouble from outside of my house because I had such a fear of disappointing my mom. I always sought her approval.
oh.
But the, later on in life, I learned there's literally nothing I could have done that would have made her feel any different towards me. But she supported everything I did. That's a good mom. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't have to put fear in me. She didn't, you know, she helped me launch. I failed. I went home.
See, you made a good point. He feels Dia's love is conditional.
Yep.
And I think that's the reason why he's so terrified of doing anything on his own. He thinks that she'll stop loving him.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe she will, you know, because I don't know her. But I've never met a mother who stopped loving their child. Like, no matter, like you said, no matter what you do, no matter if you disappoint them, you marry someone, you get divorced, whatever you do, they're still going to love you. They might be disappointed, but they're still going to love you. But I think with Shahid, I think he's under the impression that his mother's love is conditional, and there's a day that she'll stop loving him.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's so scared of her. And because I was like, why are you really afraid of your mom?
Though, when his mom dies, he's got to figure it out all on his own.
And I don't think he's ready, and it's her fault.
Really, I mean, my mom passed away, and my mom passed away 8 years ago, and I still, well, 7 years ago, every time I do anything, I still think, I mean, there's that piece of me that's like, oh, I can't wait to call mom or show mom.
Yeah.
But maybe
it doesn't go away because you want them to know your successes, right? So even
decisions, I still feel like I need her approval, even though I know she's not here. The approval was never bad. It was always everything I did. She always told me, "I'm so proud of you. Good job." And I think it's just that reinforcement that I will always look for, even as an adult, because she always gave it to me. So when when he does lose her, it's going to be so traumatizing for him at any age.
Yeah. I think for him, it's going to be detrimental. Yeah. She tells him to brush his teeth and she flosses. Like, I think, it's going to be detrimental for him. And I kind of hope that he does marry Nyla, because I'm worried if he doesn't have someone to take care of him, he won't be okay. Right? Yes. Like, I'm worried, like, he needs somebody to take care of him. He won't be okay. He's not, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. Don't get me wrong. I just think that he's just, like you said, brainwashed into thinking he can't do anything on his own.
Yep. I
agree. That worries me, because there's nothing wrong with him. He's fully capable of doing everything, making decisions, getting married, getting engaged, taking care of himself, eating candy. She doesn't let him eat candy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's crazy. He's not diabetic. You know, like, this is crazy. Like, the level of control is wild. It's like, and if they were in a relationship, we would call the cops, because we would feel like this was abusive.
I still
like if this
feel like it's abusive.
It is. Right? Like, we would call it
child abuse because he's an adult.
Well, right. That's what I said. Like, I don't know how to classify it, but if this was a relationship between a man and a woman and one person was doing this to the other, we would want to call the police. It's abusive.
Absolutely.
Not letting, like, say you're in a relationship, you're a woman, he doesn't allow you access to your money. That is abuse.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so there's no other way. It's like he's in a cult. Yeah. You know what, Gina? It's kind of true. It is. I fully agree with that. It is. He has no room to make his own decision. Every decision has to come through Dia. And that's just scary. The whole thing is scary. Oh, so we're about out of time, but Chase and Lori and Tash were back, so we'll talk about them more next week. They've been gone for like 4 weeks.
See, and I really like them.
I kind of forgot about them anyway.
I like all of them.
So yeah, nothing really happened. Chase crashed Lori's bachelorette party, so we'll get into that some more next week. So we're gonna run out of time, but we'll be back next Sunday for Before the 90 Days and Monday for the finale of The Other Way. Yeah. And then we're going to hop into the tell-all. And then we're going to go straight into December with The Last Resort. So we're kind of nonstop in. So hopefully everybody had a nice little hour of non-political talk with us, because I know we're going to go back to our TVs and see where our nation is going. I know how important today is. But thank you guys for spending some time with me to get my mind off the craziness too. Everybody follow my co-host Cara. She's tagged in this video. Follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, GeorgeMossey.com. English Hit Podcast, type in the George Mossey Show. Everybody have a wonderful Monday. And tomorrow we will wake up with a new leader. Everybody have a good night.
Bye.